Hey, how's it going? It's your favorite Napoleonic era Royal Navy sailor here with some more random odd information to post up on the internet because it's just fun. So what's the topic for today? Today we're going to go through the dress and uniform of a Royal Navy sailor during the War of 1812. So sit back, relax, shouldn't be too long, but just in case, and hopefully we learn something today. So I'll see you in a second. Right, so this is what I'm wearing here while talking. This is probably what you'll be seeing the most when I make these videos as well. I might strip down, might not, who knows. So we'll start off with the top. So at the top we have a felt hat. These could be left felt, they could be tarred, made of straw, made of wool, anything, and we'll get to that in a minute. But just basic felt hat with the tally Earl of Moira across it because that's the ship that I serve. Moving down, we have a black neckcloth. Unlike the leather stocks in the army, it's not to keep my head up while doing drill. Instead, it's if I need to cover my face, I can cover my face. And really, I could use it as a tourniquet. Think about the scouts and how they use their neckers, so you can use them for first aid. Same basic principle. We also have a blue checked shirt, if you can see that. We have a red waistcoat. No, it looks pink. It's sun bleached, but still red, and I can talk about it. And we have a very rough shell blue work coat. It's just, or also commonly known as blues. We'll also talk about this in bigger detail later. Again, my legs, I have a pair of white drop front trousers. You can see drop front. And then on my feet, but I can't lift my leg up that high, I have a pair of striped stockings and a pair of buckle shoes, and I'll attach a picture so you can see it. This is Sunday dress or full dress. This is everything to make me look as fancy as possible. It's a highly Christian society back in the day. Sunday, you dress your best. Of course, we're in the Navy. We're not stopping work, but dress your best, look good for the Lord, you know? So that's the deal. All of this is very, very subject to change, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Right, so we're sat back down. Now, I did say this is very subject to change. Now, that does seem rather silly. I said this is the closest thing to a dress uniform, and it looks rather uniform. Even if you look at the sources as well, you look at paintings, you look at films, all that, you see they're all kind of wearing the rough thing, but you go through them again, look in finer detail, not everyone's wearing this. Look at the movies like Master and Commander, and even Pirates of the Caribbean if we're stretching it. Don't look at Pirates of the Caribbean for pure historical accuracy. They're good popcorn films. Not much else after that. But either way, if you look at them, not everyone looks like me. Now, do they? Now, why is that? But that's because, believe it or not, the Royal Navy, and most navies at the time, but we're going to focus on the Royal Navy, did not have a standard uniform for their seamen, their able seamen, working class sailors, until the 1860s. Okay? That's when it started being issued by the Admiralty. Okay? Now, the officers did have an established uniform since 1748, but your average sailor did not. So the officers would have a uniform. Your officers typically look the same. We don't, and there's a good reason. So, most men serving as your able seamen, your working class sailors, okay, they were impressed into service. And that doesn't mean like, oh, whoa, those ships are really cool, I'm impressed, sign me up, Captain. No. Impressment means that they were taken off of merchant vessels, shipping boats, or out of port towns, and just thrown onto the ships, okay? Britain and lots of navies did this too. The French did it, the British did it, everyone did it. Britain was a superpower. Still kind of is, but even more so back then. And they did what superpowers had to do when in times of conflict and when at risk. The Royal Navy needed lots of men and lots of ships. They were Britain's main fighting force. Now, British soldiers are great, but they say even redcoats need to look up to heroes, and that's the Royal Navy. Okay, that's us. All right, lots of men were needed. So what do? You turn to impressment. You stop a merchant vessel. You look like you could be a fit in the Navy. Come on in. Okay? That's actually part of the reason why the War of 1812 started. Britain was stopping lots of American ships and impressing their sailors, taking them to serve in the Navy. That meaning, though, that they came into the Navy in civilian clothing. They weren't issued a uniform. They came in with civilian clothing and they worked through it. Clearly, if they're wearing it on a ship, it's good enough for the Navy. Is it comfortable? Can you work in it? Are you going to freeze? Okay, cool. Welcome aboard. That was the basic principle. It would have been a waste of time for the Admiralty to issue a full proper uniform to all able seamen because no one really saw them that much. If you're going out on parade, then maybe you'll wear something like this, but when are you ever on parade? Not too common, right? So you don't really need to worry about it if you're up in the Admiralty. Now, of course, I brought up impressment. That's not to say people did not volunteer into the Navy. There were volunteers. There were people who joined up out of patriotism, but the bulk of the Navy, their men, came from impressment, at least during the Napoleonic era. It was impressment, okay? Now, there were aspects of the uniform given out, and for that, I will speak on that in just a second. Now, there were parts of clothing that were given that were somewhat uniform. This blue coat, for example, was one of them, okay? Now, it is very simple, but it's very warm. It's wool, okay? It's bound to be warm. But that's really what you need when you're serving on a ship. Nighttime in the middle of the ocean gets cold, no matter where you are. And if you're serving in 1812, especially on the lakes, it gets really chilly in the wintertime. Trust me, okay? Now, these were not issued by the Admiralty. It wasn't like, hey, welcome aboard the Earl of Moira, here's your blue coat. No. These were purchased out of pocket by the ship's commander, whether it be lieutenant, captain, whoever. That's why I'm saying commander, because it can differ. They were paid out of pocket. So if you drew the short end of the stick and you have a real just jerk of a commanding officer, you might not get one of these because they're expensive. So when you stop into a port like Kingston, your commander's going to go into the Navy blockhouse and say, hey, I need so and so many work coats. Can I have them? Sure, it's this much. Okay, pays it over. And now your crew has work coats, okay? This kept a high amount of loyalty and just, I honestly don't know why they were private purchase. I couldn't tell you. It's just silly to me, but I'm not here to judge. That's not my point. Now, another thing that was very commonly found is this red waistcoat, and you'll see further here, it is red. Just this is pink. It looks pink. It's sun bleach. It's red, but it looks pink. Now, this is very common in paintings and film, and pretty much everywhere where you see depictions of a Royal Navy sailor, okay? Now, it does fall victim to the same myth that its cousin in the army, the redcoat, has, and that the red covers the blood, so when British soldiers are hit, they don't fall and they march forward gallantly. Now, that's not the case, okay? If you're in the army and if you're hit with a musket ball, you are going down no matter where that hits you. You are not just marching on. That hurts a lot. You're getting shot by a 70 cal lead ball. Nothing's hiding that, okay? Also, fabric stains. If blood goes through, it's staining. You're going to know someone was shot, okay? It's not going to give you big patriotism and march through. Same with this. If I'm hit with a splinter, God forbid a cannonball, this is not saving me. This is not making any American, French, Spanish sailor. No one is thinking I wasn't shot. You'll know, okay? So it's a silly little myth, okay? It's a silly little rumor, but I appreciate the gesture. We're not that strong. But no, this was here from mostly what I could find is just to signify British sailors on why it was red. Like I said, civilian clothing, right? You could come in with a green waistcoat, with a red waistcoat, with a blue waistcoat, really anything. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. That's simply what it is. But just red is what you find most commonly in depiction, in paintings and stuff. That's why you'll see a lot of reenactors as well wearing the red waistcoat, or also white. More commonly, the officers would wear white. But you see us wearing the red a lot, just because it's very easy to tell, hey, that's British sailor, that's American sailor. Though the Americans did also sometimes wear red waistcoats, so that's where it gets confusing. But either way, like I said, they weren't seen in public too often, so they didn't need to look spiff and span. Like I said, this is sun bleached. This means I've been working out in the sun day in, day out, okay? You're always outside. Like, it would not be uncommon to see things sun bleached. You're in the middle of a war. You're not seen too common. You can look half decent if you need to. You're fighting, you're working, okay? Especially if you're serving out on sea, on saltwater, you're going to have a few salt stains around with all that sea air. You're not going to look spiff and span. Now, that's not to say that everyone looks sloppy. That's also a very uncommon myth. And where, oh, the British Navy and the British Army, they looked horrible, they were disgusting and dirty. No, cleanliness is close to godliness, as they used to say. You stayed clean. But a simple sun-bleached waistcoat, or maybe a slightly brighter shade of blue on your blue coat, that's not going to change much now, is it? That's not going to change public opinion on you, okay? So, blue coat, red waistcoat, you see a lot of sailors having them. This more common though, and the closest thing to having uniform. Well, the blue coat and the waistcoat were the most common uniform type looking things. All the rest was up to what the men could get their hands on. You saw I was wearing white trousers, but in some depictions you see sailors wearing striped trousers, blue trousers, really anything. You're not going to see green, but just kind of white, your stripes, your blue, just stuff like that, okay? You also see them wearing what looks like shorts. Those are called breeches. Or even slops, which are kind of like a larger pair of breeches, but they help cover up your nicer trousers or breeches and just keep them away from the elements. Sailor slops were very common, however, they were private purchase. So, there was also a lot of recycling on Navy ships. Recycling. If I go through a battle, and old Joe has a nice old waistcoat, but the poor guy took a hit, okay? I want that. He's not going to need that where he goes, so I'll take it, okay? You do anything you need because there is no uniform. I'm not going to get in trouble. I'm just going to take a little waistcoat, right? It's the same with sails as well. If you go through and this sail gets torn to the point where it cannot be fixed up, the sailmaker would take it down, chop it up, and make things like waistcoats, or pants, or maybe neckcloths, or tarred hats. This isn't tarred, but same basic principle, right? Make hats out of that and tar it. Now you have more hats. You can make field dressings. Really anything can be made out of it. You don't have space for garbage on a ship. It's very tight, it's very cramped. So you use your space to the best of your ability and just do what you can, okay? So, anyways, here we go. It was a very quick overview on the uniform of the Royal Navy during the War of 1812. As always, if there are any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down in the comments and I'll be happy to answer them. If not, I hope you learned something. Please feel free to recommend what you want to learn, and if I know about it, then sure, by all means, I'm going to make a video about it. But until then, all the best of luck, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.